In the darkness of an abandoned place, silence reigns above all. With every step, whispers echo from the walls, like a reverberation of forgotten fears. Once a building full of life, now only abandoned memories and dark secrets remain. But is this place truly abandoned, or have the shadows of the past never left? Today, we'll lead you step by step through the terrifying events that once took place here. Lost sounds, screams heard in the middle of the night, unseen presences felt, each of them a clue to the terrifying truths hidden within these walls. Today, we will uncover that an abandoned place holds far more than what meets the eye. These 5 horrifying events will take you deep into the dark pages of history, to a world unseen, but felt. Get ready, because the darkness is closer than you think. If you want to continue this chilling journey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. With every new video, we'll take one more step into the depths of the dark. First story, echoes of the lost screams. Wandering through the long-forgotten corridors of an abandoned hospital was never an easy task. But that night, a few brave investigators stepped inside, determined to uncover its secrets. This hospital, left to decay for years, had walls that seemed to absorb the fears and pains of the past. In the silence, the feeling that time had stopped grew with every step. Everyone started to feel they were not alone here. It was midnight, and their heartbeats raced against the deep silence. Suddenly, a scream pierced the stillness. A cold shiver ran down their spines, for this sound was definitely not human-made. A sharp, terrifying scream echoed from the depths of the hospital. The group leader froze for a moment. "We must have misheard it. Definitely misheard it," he said. "But we all heard it. We all felt it." The scream. It was a woman's scream. That terrifying sound, lasting only a second, echoed down the dark corridors before abruptly cutting off. They all exchanged glances, trying to understand what had just happened. But everything fell into a deep silence. One of them gathered the courage to speak. "It's said that a patient died here many years ago." Another quickly added, "That's just a legend. Maybe, but we're not here for that." No one could shake the feeling, though. The scream still created fresh fear. Finally, our leader decided to venture deeper into the dark corridors. Slowly, they moved forward, and with each step, everything grew more unnerving. The echo of that scream seemed to be following them, as if some unseen presence was trailing them from the walls, floors, and ceiling. As the group continued, the scream seemed to be growing closer. They opened the door to a room, but there was no one there. Only emptiness and the smell of earth. Fear began to weigh heavily on one of them. "There's something here," one of them whispered, their voice trembling. Just then, another scream echoed, much closer and far more chilling than before. "No, this sound is coming from somewhere else," said one of them. No longer came from the walls or the rooms. It was following them. Finally, a brave investigator decided to find the source of the scream. He headed towards a staircase leading to the basement. "There's something down there. Come quickly," he urged, but no one dared to follow. As he descended the stairs, the door slammed shut and the lights went out. The others frantically tried to find a way out, but the door wouldn't budge. Then, from the basement, another sound emerged. A deep, muffled, and eerie laugh. The sound was both real and unreal. The outside laughs faded. Everything went silent. And in that silence, the lost screams slowly began to echo once more. This time, it felt as if they would never return. Second story, the room where time stopped. That old, abandoned mansion looked peaceful from the outside. Surrounded by forests with an elegant structure, it seemed like a tranquil place. But inside, something was off. Something was missing. place holding dark secrets. When a group of investigators decided to explore it, they had no idea that the terrifying events within hadn't yet ended. As they entered, their first impressions were very different. Yes, traces of life once lived there still remained. Broken furniture, faded paintings on the walls, and the earthy smell of the air. But the strangest thing was that none of the clocks were working. Every wall clock had stopped, as if time itself had been frozen in this place. "It's like time has stopped here," murmured one investigator, but no one paid much attention. As the group ventured deeper into the mansion, they noticed the strange chill that filled the air. It was a hot summer day outside, but inside everything felt frozen. As they entered one of the rooms, the air shifted suddenly. The breath they had just taken now turned into a shivering gust of wind. Fear increased with every step. When they entered the room, they found themselves in what felt like a different time. At first, they didn't notice anything unusual, but then something caught their attention. An old desk covered in thick dirt and books scattered on top. These old books held secrets they dared not open. But the strangeness didn't stop there. The room felt as though it was a place where time had vanished, yet it was somehow waiting to return. One of the group members sat on an old chair in the corner of the room. As soon as they did, something changed in the room. The person sitting on the chair began to tremble. Their arms seemed frozen, and their eyes drifted as if following something invisible. This is where time has vanished," they whispered, but their voice sounded strangled. Just then, a scream echoed through the room, a horrifying, deep scream. The investigator, frozen in fear, realized something was wrong. As they looked around, they noticed one of the books on the desk began to slowly slide off. The book opened on its own, its pages rapidly turning as if swept by a breeze, though there was no wind. Panic spread among the group, and they rushed to leave the room. But the door wouldn't open. There seemed to be an invisible force keeping them in. At that moment, the room where time had stopped drew even closer to them. Everyone's eyes were filled with terror as they tried to escape. Time felt as though it had been trapped there, unable to move forward or backward. One investigator, closing their eyes, screamed, "This is a trap! Time is trapped here!" But their shout went unanswered. Finally, when the door opened, the group rushed out of the room. But as they looked back, they saw something terrifying. The room, no one knew when it began or when it would end. All that was left was the feeling that time had never changed, trapped there, waiting. Third story. Doors closing at midnight in an abandoned place. At midnight, a group of researchers quietly advanced through the dark corridors of the abandoned sanatorium. It had been deserted for years, surrounded by thick forests. No one dared visit this cursed place. But the group had come to uncover the truth. Within each of them, there was a mix of curiosity and fear, for the dark history of the sanatorium was filled with horrifying stories. As they stepped inside, the first thing that caught their attention was the profound silence. With every step, even the creaks of the dry wooden floors were so abrupt that everything felt frozen in time. The corridors were filled with nearly destroyed items, broken chairs, old portraits on the walls staring with cold eyes. But in the depths of it all, something was there. Something was watching them. Suddenly, a door at the far end of the corridor creaked and closed without any wind. Everyone's heart began to race, and eyes turned toward each other. "There's something here," said the leader, their voice trembling. At that moment, another door, just like the first, silently closed. But this time, the door that closed felt different from the others. A coldness began to appear in the dark. Everyone's skin crawled. "This is not normal," murmured one researcher. As everyone cautiously stepped backward, every door in the corridor was closing one by one, without any echo. As the group moved forward, the doors began to close rapidly. But this wasn't an ordinary closing. Something was behind those doors. Each closing door was pushing them further inside. With every step they took, a faint whisper could be heard from behind the doors. The sound grew louder. "Let me go. Let me go," it whispered. This voice seemed like the painful screams of someone who had once lived there. One of the group members, deciding to separate from the others, decided to follow the doors. But every door they passed called them back. At that moment, they noticed that from behind each door, a hand was reaching out. Shadows guided by an unseen force were quickly coming toward them. The entire group began to panic and run. But the doors kept closing. The corridors were narrowing. Now, no doors were opening. The darkness behind each door approached them like a trap, and the group members yelled each other's names as they tried to escape. At that moment, a door opened quickly, and only a pair of eyes stared at them from the deep darkness. The eyes disappeared into a gloomy void, but they could feel. Those eyes were watching them. In a brief moment of stillness, the door shut completely, and everything fell silent. After the doors closed, no sound could be heard. Everything was frozen. At that moment, another figure appeared in the middle of the room, like an old patient or a shadow. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the figure in horror. It was just watching. But the darkness in those eyes was approaching them, setting a trap from which they could never escape. A scream was heard, but the sound vanished within the cold walls of the room. One by one, the group members disappeared into the closed rooms of the sanatorium. That night, the curse behind the doors grew stronger. Time had stopped, and with every closing door, they were drawn further in. No one in the group dared to turn back. The doors of the sanatorium had closed so completely that no one would ever get out again. And so, the fears hidden behind every abandoned place slowly surfaced. The doors that closed at midnight carry the traces of souls that vanished into the darkness. The rooms where time stands still hold their mysteries, even after years. The walls of that old sanatorium still whisper with pain. So, are these places truly abandoned, or are they gateways to another dimension? No one can say for certain. But one thing is clear. The dark past never completely disappears. Every abandoned place carries with it a curse trapped inside. Darkness always returns. Next time, perhaps we'll hear your name behind those abandoned doors. At any moment, another secret could be revealed. Remember, the darkness never stays completely silent. If you'd like to continue this mysterious journey, don't forget to subscribe. With every new video, we'll lose ourselves one step further in the dark. Stay terrified.